Donald Trump and almost all the other Republicans are now at each other's throats now that their healthcare proposal was a complete failure and an embarrassment. So what does Donald Trump do first? He says, watch Judge Jeanine on Fox News tonight at 9 p.m. Well, that's curious. Why this random plug for a weekend show on Fox News? Well, we find out why as soon as it starts. Judge Jeanine says, my opening statement, Paul Ryan needs to step down as Speaker of the House. This is not on President Trump. Gee, I wonder why Trump told you to watch it. I can't quite tell. Now, when they go to Reince Priebus, who's his chief of staff, he says, oh, no. Trump tweeting about that and then them saying it's all Paul Ryan's fault and not Donald Trump's fault was completely, quote, coincidental. Of course it was. And then Reince follows it up by saying, the president thinks that Paul Ryan is a great Speaker of the House. Oh, does he? I didn't get that sense. I also didn't get that sense when he put that hatchet in Ryan's back with that Breitbart article. And that said over and over again, it's not Trump's fault, it's Paul Ryan's fault, and he should step down as Speaker of the House. Oh, maybe that's what Trump thinks is a pat on the back. Every time he does a hatchet in your back, he's like, boom, boom, boom. See, I just patted you on the back 3 times. And then Jeanine Pirro, I mean, such a Trump sycophant, it's great. Then follows up and says this is just for fun. She said, no one expected a businessman to completely understand the nuances, the complicated ins and outs of Washington and its legislative process. No, Jeanine, we all expected that because he was running for president. Is that what you thought? Like I'm electing a guy so dumb he doesn't understand how legislation works? Well, and has no chance of getting it passed because he didn't bother to find out? So are you happy about that? That Donald Trump didn't bother to find out until he was president how complicated it is to pass legislation? And that's the person you proudly support. Look at my idiot in chief. He doesn't know, golly gee. He's just a businessman whose daddy left him hundreds of millions of dollars. What would he know about how to get stuff done? Well, Jeanine, because he didn't know and he didn't bother to find out, now Obamacare is still the law of the land. Now I'm happy about that. Are you happy about that? I thought you were irate over that. But you'll make any excuse for Trump. You guys are so pathetic. Fox News people pretending they're like, oh yeah, of course it's not his fault. Of course he's too stupid to understand. Of course, and studying, doing homework, that's for smart people. That's why we still have Obamacare. What? Yeah. So now, then Donald Trump decides that he's going to go attack other people. So he sends another tweet out. He says Democrats are smiling in DC that the Freedom Caucus, with the help of the Club for Growth and Heritage, have saved Planned Parenthood and Obamacare. Damn, shots fired. So Freedom Caucus is the most right-wing caucus. They were going to vote no on this plan. That's part of why it failed. Club for Growth and Heritage Foundations are right-wing think tanks, and they encourage people to vote no on Trump and Ryan's healthcare proposal. So now fired back, Freedom Caucus member Representative Raul Labrador, on the other hand, blamed House Speaker Paul Ryan and other Republican leadership who said we're not correct in their approach to this bill. So everybody start that firing squad. Anyway, political one, obviously. Representative Paul Ryan now goes and attacks others. He says, some of the members of that caucus were voting with us, but not enough were, referring to the Freedom Caucus. And that was sufficient to provide the balance not to have this bill passed. Then we go to Representative David Brat, and he is part of the right-wing faction in the House, referring to President Trump, blaming them for it. He says he's been getting bad counsel from the media, from some in leadership who said that some of us should not even exist up here. We need to be on a team. In other words, all right, everybody get around. Okay, we're all in a circle, great. Okay, let's have fun now. Okay, we're all down, fantastic, mission accomplished. Meanwhile, one guy walked out the door, and probably rightfully so. Representative Ted Poe used to be part of the Freedom Caucus. After this debacle, he left immediately, saying no is easy, leading is hard, but that is what we're elected to do. Leaving this caucus will allow me to be a more effective member of Congress, an advocate for the people of Texas. It's time to lead. Or more accurately, it's time to leave. This is a mess. They're not winning with this mess. Sad. And as I read all of them fighting one another, trying to blame one another, and pass that buck along, you know what I think? Baby.
Podcast The Young Turks anytime you want. tytnetwork.com/join.
I think it's weird.
No, it's not weird. In fact, you'll think,
I'm like a smart person.
do it now. tytnetwork.com/join.